The observation deck of the scattered light hummed with the gentle vibration of sublight engines as Jennifer Chen pressed her palm against the reinforced transparisteel viewport. Beyond the glass, the rust-colored planet Kepler 442b rotated slowly, its twin moons casting asymmetric shadows across the continental masses. She had traveled 1,206 light-years from Earth for this moment, first contact with the Velari, a species that had only recently achieved rudimentary spaceflight. Bioscan complete, Kevin Rodriguez announced from his station, his fingers dancing across the holographic interface that projected chemical formulas and atmospheric compositions in midair. Oxygen-nitrogen atmosphere, 0.78 Earth gravity, ambient temperature averaging 21 Celsius. It's practically a vacation planet. Jennifer turned from the viewport, her expression measured. Except for the fact that we're about to introduce ourselves to a civilization that thinks they're alone in the universe. Run the cultural database again. I want to make sure we're not violating any of their taboos. Kevin's dark eyes flicked toward her, a smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. You've reviewed it 6 times, Jen. The Velari are herbivorous, community-oriented, and from what our probes have gathered, surprisingly curious rather than xenophobic. The xenoanthropology team rated them as low risk for first contact. Low risk isn't no risk, Jennifer replied, pulling up her own data slate. The Velari were small, barely reaching 1 meter in height at full maturity, with elongated limbs, bioluminescent patches along their forearms, and large, forward-facing eyes adapted for their planet's dim red dwarf sun. The first images captured by stealth satellites had shown them living in tree-dwelling communities, their architecture organic and flowing, grown rather than built from some kind of engineered fungal composite. What made them particularly fascinating was their young. Velari cubs, as the xenobiology team had termed them, remained in a presentient state for their first 3 local years, operating on instinct and imitation before their neural pathways fully developed. It reminded Jennifer of Earth's own evolutionary quirks, the way human infants were born essentially helpless compared to other species. Landing clearance in 30 minutes, Kevin announced. The diplomatic shuttle is prepped, and yes, before you ask, I triple-checked the gift inventory. Jennifer nodded, her stomach tightening with anticipation. First contact protocols demanded they bring offerings, not of advanced technology, which could disrupt a developing civilization, but of culture. Art, music, food. Things that said we come in peace in a language that transcended words. She had spent weeks agonizing over what food to bring. The Velari were herbivorous, their diet consisting primarily of nitrogen-fixing root vegetables and photosynthetic fruits. Earth's agricultural products would be completely alien to them. Finally, she had settled on something simple, non-threatening, and representative of human culinary culture: blueberry muffins. The shuttle descent was smooth, guided by the scattered light's advanced navigational AI. They landed in a clearing that the Velari had prepared, a gesture of welcome that the translation algorithms had decoded from their radio transmissions. Within minutes of touchdown, a delegation approached. The Velari moved with a graceful, loping gait, their bioluminescent patches flickering in complex patterns that Jennifer's neural implant translated as cautious excitement. The leader, identified by the elaborate fiber wrappings around their torso, stopped 10 meters from the shuttle and gestured with elongated fingers. "Welcome, sky travelers," the translation played in Jennifer's earpiece. "We are the Velari of the singing trees. You honor us with your presence." Jennifer stepped forward, Kevin at her side, carrying the insulated container of muffins. "We are humans of Earth," she said, her words being converted into the Velari's tonal language by the portable translator clipped to her collar. "We come in peace and friendship, hoping to learn from you as we share knowledge of ourselves." The formal exchange continued for several minutes, each species carefully observing the other. Jennifer noticed several smaller figures hanging back from the main delegation, Velari cubs, their bioluminescent patches flickering randomly, their large eyes fixed on the strange alien visitors. When the time came to present gifts, Kevin opened the container. The scent of fresh-baked blueberry muffins wafted into the alien atmosphere. The adult Velara's olfactory slits flared, processing the unfamiliar chemical signatures. Their leader approached cautiously, examining the golden-brown domed pastries. "This is food," the translation came. "Yes," Jennifer confirmed. "A traditional preparation from our world. The primary ingredients are ground seeds from a grain we call wheat, combined with sugar from plant matter, unfertilized bird embryos, eggs, and fruit we call blueberries. We've analyzed your biochemistry and believe these should be safe for your consumption, though we recommend starting with small amounts." The Velari leader carefully took a muffin, their long fingers surprisingly dexterous. They broke off a small piece and consumed it with deliberate precision. For a moment, nothing happened. Then their bioluminescent patches erupted in a cascade of brilliant colors that Jennifer's implant translated as profound surprise and pleasure. "This is extraordinary," the Velari leader communicated. "The texture, the flavor complexity, we have nothing like this in our culinary traditions." But it was what happened next that would become the subject of xenoanthropological papers for decades to come. One of the Velari cubs, unable to contain their curiosity, broke from the group and rushed toward Kevin. The small alien barely reached his knee, their large eyes fixed on the container of muffins with an intensity that transcended species barriers. Before any adult could intervene, the cub reached up with both hands in a universal gesture that needed no translation. "Please." Kevin looked to Jennifer, who gave a slight nod. He knelt down, bringing himself to the cub's eye level, and offered a muffin. The small Velari took it with trembling hands, brought it to their face, and inhaled deeply. Then, with the unself-conscious enthusiasm that seemed to be hardwired into young creatures across the galaxy, the cub took an enormous bite. The reaction was immediate and dramatic. The cub's bioluminescent patches exploded in brilliant golds and blues, flickering so rapidly they appeared almost white. They made a high-pitched sound that the translator rendered as something between a squeal and a purr. Within seconds, 3 more cubs broke ranks and swarmed toward the container, their small hands outstretched. The adult Velari appeared mortified, their patterns flickering in what Jennifer's implant read as deep embarrassment. "Forgiveness, please. The young ones, they have not yet learned proper conduct." But Jennifer was laughing, a genuine, delighted sound that made even Kevin grin. "No, please, it's wonderful." She knelt beside Kevin, helping distribute muffins to the eager cubs. "On Earth, we have a saying, children are honest. If your young ones like our food, that's the highest compliment we could receive." The cubs devoured the muffins with single-minded focus, getting crumbs on their bioluminescent patches and making increasingly enthusiastic sounds. One particularly small cub finished their muffin and immediately climbed onto Kevin's knee, patting his leg and looking up with enormous eyes that clearly communicated more. Kevin, who had been chosen for this mission partly for his ability to remain composed under pressure, found his professional demeanor cracking. "I think we've just discovered something profound about the universe," he said to Jennifer, offering another muffin to the insistent cub. "What's that?" Jennifer asked, watching as more cubs cautiously approached, their fear of the strange aliens completely overridden by the allure of baked goods. "That the desire for snacks is apparently universal," Kevin replied. "These cubs have the same look my nephew gets when my sister brings out cookies. It's kind of beautiful, actually." The Velari leader approached, their earlier embarrassment replaced by what the translator rendered as bemused acceptance. "In our culture, we say that the young see truth before learning deception. If our children embrace you so readily, perhaps it is a sign that our peoples are meant to know one another." Jennifer stood, brushing muffin crumbs from her knees. Around her, Velari cubs were beginning to interact with Kevin more boldly, some attempting to climb his larger frame, others showing him interesting rocks and seed pods they'd collected, the universal language of children sharing treasures with new friends. On Earth, Jennifer said carefully, we have a concept called breaking bread together. It means sharing food as a way to build trust and community. I think today we've done more than establish first contact. We've started a friendship. The formal diplomatic proceedings that followed went remarkably smoothly. When beings can watch their children play together, even across the vast gulf of evolutionary history and cosmic distance, barriers seem less insurmountable. By the time Jennifer and Kevin returned to the scattered light, they carried invitations to a cultural exchange, preliminary trade agreements, and enough bioluminescent art from the Velari cubs to fill a cargo hold. You know what the strangest thing is? Kevin asked as they entered orbit, the rust-colored planet falling away below them. We traveled over 1,000 light-years, spent decades in cryosleep, deployed technology that would seem like magic to our ancestors, all to meet an alien species. And what finally bridged the gap between us? Baked goods and enthusiastic children, Jennifer finished, smiling. Sometimes the most sophisticated solution isn't complex technology or careful diplomacy. Sometimes it's just being human, or in their case, being Velari, being alive and curious and hungry for connection, and occasionally for blueberry muffins. In her quarters later, Jennifer filed her official report, but she also wrote a personal note, one that would eventually find its way into the unofficial archives that told the real stories behind humanity's journey to the stars. Today we learned that intelligence alone doesn't make first contact successful. It's the universal experiences, curiosity, generosity, the desire to share something good with others, that truly connect us across the cosmos. The Velari cubs didn't care about our technology or our civilization's achievements. They cared that we offered them something delicious and knelt down to their level to do it. Perhaps that's the real test of a species ready for the stars. Not whether we can build ships that cross the void, but whether we remember to bake extra muffins for the neighbors.